Is an MBA worth it? This is a highly subjective question and very much depends on you as an individual and what you hope to achieve by completing an MBA. Interestingly, a 2023 survey revealed that MBA graduates saw an average salary increase of 75% from their pre-MBA earnings, showcasing the degree's substantial impact on earning potential. But if you look online, you will find many conflicting articles. Those that promote an MBA for career progression or a salary increase, and those that say MBAs have reached their peak and that the high fees make them a poor investment. In this video, I will share my personal experience and whether I think an MBA was worth it for me. If you are new here, welcome to my channel where I share my own personal journey and lessons I have learned along the way. Hopefully I will help inspire and motivate you to take action and improve your life. In today's video, we'll be covering 5 main areas: why I considered an MBA, the decision-making process that I took, my MBA experience, if it was personally worth it for me, and advice for prospective MBA students. Throughout my professional career, I had always been an advocate of continuous professional development and lifelong learning. In the UK, nearly half of all adults, 49%, participated in learning in the last 3 years, marking an all-time high. To stay competitive in the job market, you have to show you are able to grow and develop professionally, and an MBA was a way for me to do this in a structured way. After struggling in secondary school, only achieving 3 GCSEs, I knew that I had greater potential to achieve academically and wanted to challenge my own perception of myself being a failure at school. Whilst after secondary school I did manage to get into college studying business and ultimately went on to be the first in my family to study an undergraduate degree in marketing management at Kingston University, I still wasn't at the level I wanted to be professionally. Entering into the workforce, I struggled to move up the corporate ladder and felt myself hit a glass ceiling in a corporate social responsibility role. Coming from a low socio-economic background, I lacked connections, an understanding of the corporate environment, and a lot of the lived experience you gain from coming from a privileged background. While I had good career experience under my belt and was great at an operational level, I lacked the wider strategic and leadership skills to progress further than middle management. Looking into ways to bridge the gap, I explored what I could do to gain the knowledge but also be externally recognised by my current employer and future prospective employers, particularly in a space where there wasn't a clear pathway or qualifications such as other fields like a doctor. I also had the perception that an MBA would give me a holistic view of how business operates at all levels, from processes to people to strategy to finance, all the areas I hadn't had much exposure to and often felt at a disadvantage when having these deeper, more wider business conversations. It all came to a head one late afternoon in the office. I had been hesitantly anticipating a meeting with a new director at work who wanted to understand the business case for corporate social responsibility. They saw it as a drain on resource and not a core business function. I had been tasked with creating a presentation and presenting a justification for essentially my job, not being fully aware at the time of how best to put my case forward and clearly communicate the strategic, stakeholder and reputational elements which were essential to the business. I ended up delivering a poor presentation and getting some pretty harsh feedback. As I reflected on how badly the presentation went that day, my manager suggested presentation training, but I knew that wasn't the answer. I lacked the fundamental business knowledge I needed to deliver a well thought out and strong case. Taken to Google, I went down a professional development rabbit hole, and after leaving the office at 10 PM, I decided an MBA was for me. Deciding on whether or not to pursue an MBA came down to 2 main factors for me: the cost and the time commitment. Cost was the elephant in the room, as MBA fees at the time ranged anywhere between $35,000 to $60,000. I was in an average paying role and wouldn't have been able to afford it without some form of support. I was hesitant to take on more student loan debt. Knowing this, I reached out to the learning and development team at my employer at the time and managed to convince them to support my request to do an MBA, and we brainstormed how the organisation could fund it. Doing some research together, we found some universities were funding executive MBAs through the apprenticeship levy. For those who are not from the UK, it's a tax on employers which is used to fund apprenticeship training. This was relatively new for the organisation I worked for, and I had to write a business case and gain approval from the CEO at the time. I was lucky enough to be successful and was the first person at middle management level to get an apprenticeship levy funding agreement to study an MBA. Now the cost of the MBA had been sorted, I had to decide whether I had the time during work with 20% off the job training, a requirement of the apprenticeship levy, to dedicate to my MBA and enough time in my home life to study and complete the assignments. Whilst my manager at the time was hesitant, I was able to convince her, promising she wouldn't see a drop in performance. Convincing my partner, on the other hand, took a bit more work, as I knew she had to fully buy into the whole process, as I would be sacrificing time with her to study. With an average of 15 to 20 hours per week, I made sure that she knew the long-term benefits, like an increasing earning potential. According to a survey conducted by the Association of MBAs, the annual average salary in the UK for an MBA graduate is £75,000. However, this figure varies depending on job position and level of experience. This was significantly higher than what I was earning at the time, and was a great driver for me to want to do the MBA, as I wanted to provide a great life for me and my partner. A friend at the time gave me a great bit of advice which really helped tip me over the edge in making my decision. He said that you regret what you don't do more than what you do, so don't make passing up on this opportunity something you later regret. Weighing the pros and cons, I decided to go for it. It's not often an employer will invest £35,000 into your professional development. I knew that choosing the right business school to study at would be the single most important decision that would either make my overall experience a positive or negative one. I first had to narrow down all the universities that offered the apprenticeship levy funding route. I also knew that to really get the most out of the experience, it needed to offer a hybrid study model, so both in-person and online learning. The course also needed to be triple accredited by the UK, European and US accrediting bodies, in case I ever decided to relocate or work abroad. On top of triple accreditation, I wanted the business school's modules to be aligned to the Chartered Management Institute to gain chartered management status. I wanted a school with a global network and one that had a long history of excellence and always ranked highly. For me, the best choice was Henley Business School. With over 7,000 students from more than 100 countries and over 87,000 alumni, I felt confident that I would be joining a business school who could help me achieve my goals. The key selling point for me was their MBA with personal development throughout each stage of the course. I put in my application, got accepted and started in June 2019, finally graduating in September 2022. My MBA consisted of 3 stages and 12 modules, with one elective module which I chose corporate responsibility. Stage 1 was about managing the organisation, and the modules included managing processes and systems, managing financial resources, developing people and personal development. Stage 2 focused more on making choices, looking at context and stakeholders. The modules included international business, strategy, research skills, strategic marketing, personal development and reputation and responsibility. Stage 3 was more about making an impact, and the modules included the main management research challenge or dissertation, leadership and change, and my elective module, as well as personal development. The content of the lectures, the faculty members and their delivery style were great. I was inspired to learn more and looked forward to my in-person workshops every 2 months. Lessons were held in a Grade 2 listed building set in 30 acres of Thameside estate in the beautiful Oxfordshire countryside. They provided hotel rooms to stay over, and great tasting food was prepared at on-site restaurants. The place really fosters learning, and I still try and go back once a year to visit the campus. I was able to manage the on-the-job learning and home life studying by consistently blocking out time in my calendar each day to set micro-learning sessions where I fully focused on my MBA, blocking everything else out. During my study, the world went into lockdown, and during the second stage, we shifted to complete online learning. Although I didn't get as much value from the online workshops, Henley were great and really understanding and agreed any assignment extensions I needed. Being an executive MBA, I was surrounded by leaders within their industries. It was clear on the first day that I was the most junior in the cohort, and I felt imposter syndrome very early on. It wasn't until I realised that we were all peers on the same journey together, and this was a great opportunity to network with senior leaders and learn from them. I remember being at the Greenlands campus during the Research Management Challenge, and my group was having a discussion, and someone I really admired turned around and said she thought I was the smartest person in the cohort. Amazingly, this is what I thought of her. I definitely wasn't the smartest person on the course, but to know someone had thought that about me during my studies really gave me the boost I needed and made me consider how others saw me. My experience of Henley was really positive, and if anyone is thinking of doing an executive MBA, I couldn't recommend them enough. I am happy to have a chat with anyone considering going, and no, this isn't a sponsored video. If it was worth it for me. This is an easy question to answer. Yes. The goals that I had set to achieve off the back of an MBA was to gain leadership and management knowledge, break through the glass ceiling, and move into a senior management position and earn more money to provide a better life for myself and my family. All of which I wouldn't have been able to achieve without an MBA. Within my role, I was able to use the learning throughout the MBA to develop a sector-leading social value service, generating a record £16 million in social impact and achieving £1 million of financial support to deliver life-changing programs for disadvantaged and vulnerable people. After just 1 year since graduating, I was able to move into a senior leadership role in a corporate social responsibility position in a new sector at a new organisation. My salary increased over 60% since starting the MBA, and I have become a Chartered Fellow at the Chartered Management Institute and also sit on the board of directors for a well-known financial capacity charity in the UK. I feel confident at both an operational and strategic level, but most importantly for me, I don't feel like a school failure, but someone who is educated to a high level and can stand toe-to-toe with any C-suite executive in the organisation. I want to give you 3 tips or 3 main considerations you should think about when trying to decide whether an MBA is right for you. The first tip is to have prior work experience. The first question you should ask yourself is, do you have enough experience in your career to do an MBA? Prior experience, in my opinion, is essential to really understand and apply the concepts you learn in your role. If you have just finished your undergraduate degree, get some years experience before you start an MBA. Tip number 2, be able to afford it. I advocate for being debt-free. I would not advise anyone to go into debt to do an MBA when there are other routes you can explore, like I did to fund your MBA. With interest rates as high as they are, don't take on debt to study. Tip number 3, be prepared. An MBA takes a lot out of you mentally, and you need to really understand what you're getting yourself into. Lots of late nights, early mornings, studying, and missing out on social gatherings and occasions to get assignments done. People tend to think an MBA is only for middle-aged white men from middle and upper class backgrounds. This is really not the case. An MBA is for anyone who wants to build their business acumen and progress their career to the next level. Whether you decide an MBA is worth it or not, I hope my experience helps with your decision, and if you have any questions, put them in the comments below and I will make sure to answer them. If you haven't already, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let me know down in the comments below whether you think an MBA is worth it. With that said, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.